Hi, my name is Laura Painter, and this is the Risk Management Plan for Legal Issues class. My topic is the Student Recreation Center at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. To give you a little background about UNC, it's a public research university located in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Some bordering counties are Durham and Raleigh, and in 2014, enrollment of the university was approximately 30,000 students, both undergraduate and graduate students. The university is known as a public Ivy University, where students can receive a liberal arts education. And the university has always been a forefront leader in creating that atmosphere of engaging play and academia, where students can explore and discover their passions through 550 officially recognized student organizations. This also includes, but is not limited to, student-led organizations as well as businesses on campus, such as campus recreation. UNC Campus Recreation has a mission statement that they strive to provide a diverse and intentional recreation program in a safe, inclusive, and accessible environment that enhances the social, mental, and physical well-being of the entire university community. This includes several programs such as intramurals, sport clubs, recreational facilities, both recreational and programmed, group fitness, aquatics, and outdoor adventures. The facility on campus known as the Student Recreation Center is located at the heart of campus. It divides North and South Campus and was built in 1997. It's currently managed by professional and student staff. In 2014, the Campus Recreation decided to start research to analyze the future of the facility and make plans to update the facility based on what patrons would like to see in a new facility or a newly renovated facility and what was going to be the best financial reasoning for this. In order to make sure that this happens, a risk management plan has to be implemented prior, especially now with our older facility and then in an upcoming facility as well, to provide that safe and inclusive environment for patrons that they're asking for and saying that they want to have in their mission statement. This also helps to minimize liability for the department and the facility. Currently, the SRC has 2 stories. There is a large weight room with a cardio and strength training equipment, and upstairs there's 2 multi-purpose studios for group exercise classes. Downstairs there's also the campus recreation staff offices and the functional movement and fitness center. For a school this size, the Student Recreation Center is actually relatively small and needs desperate repair. Because if you're going to be a school that has this high level of academia, you should also think about having that sort of pretentious standings with your fitness facilities as well. When we're talking about risks and implementing a risk management policy, we have to look at risks that are both inside and outside of the SRC. Some of the ones that are outside that are essentially out of control of the staff are the inability to assess the facility due to where it's located on campus, as well as weather and climate. Some of the risks inside may include unqualified staff, equipment malfunction, improper form while performing an exercise, physical assault or sexual harassment, theft of belongings, infections from germs and bacteria, structural deficiencies of the building, contractual risks, an active shooter on campus, employee harassment, and privacy and confidentiality risks. These are important to look at and create the risk management plan that will be implemented in the facility. Outlined in this matrix are the severity of injury or financial impact in relation to what the frequency of a risk is and then how important or the severity of the impact is. As you can see from it, there's a couple of things that you can kind of go over and assess the risk. So for instance, if we look down at catastrophic loss, low frequency, you can see that some of those risks might include a patron suffering a major injury from participation in the facility, an active shooter, or injury from structural deficiencies. This essentially means that someone is dying or severely injured but it happens at a low frequency. Whereas if you look over under moderate loss, high frequency, it could be that a patron suffers injury due to equipment malfunction, or patron suffers injury due to group fitness class, or improperly marked floor. This means it could happen at a very high rate, and you have a moderate loss, a moderate risk there. Same thing with low loss, but high frequency is patrons sneaking into the facility without paying that $5 guest pass fee, which can then turn into a larger problem, or patrons bothering other patrons using the facility. Where there's low loss and the severity or financial impact to the gym, but there's a high frequency of it happening. This matrix is important because it can help you specifically outline some of the risks that are happening in the gym and how frequently they're happening, so you can kind of look at and assess what needs to be addressed and what needs to be taken care of the most. When you're actually looking at creating an emergency action plan, one of the things that you should do first, or that the UNC Campus Recreation Department can do first, is to create an internal management committee. And this committee will have full-time staff members representing each department, and their goal will be to identify those risks and address risk management. One of the most important things to do is to create, as this committee, to create and prepare a document that will plan for emergencies that could possibly occur in the facility. If these duties are failed to be met, there's that legal responsibility and liability on the department. The reasoning for this is because if you go ahead and outline and train to prepare for these risk management or these emergency actions, then you can have a plan and action for your student staff to recognize, and a course of action that will help them to be prepared, respond, and then recover, sort of like in this diagram that's on the right side of the screen. After you have this emergency action plan, it's important to train staff members. So this could be in a variety of ways. This could be in service trainings. This could be in full staff trainings. Go ahead and train them what it's like during emergency action plan. For instance, at the SRC, if there is an injured patron at the equipment desk, or someone that gets injured due to a faulty piece of equipment, what the staff can do is to recognize that this was an issue and that this happened. Say, for instance, a faulty piece of equipment fell on their hand during a set of lifts. So in that instance, we have the staff is first aid certified, and if at that point the injury is out of control of the participant, then they can go ahead and call someone higher than them. But if not, they can address it via first aid. So if it's a minor cut, for instance, then that staff member is trained to go ahead and perform basic first aid on them. Otherwise, in that if something else happens, then they can fill out the necessary paperwork or anything like that. And this is just a simple solution, but it goes ahead and starts that idea of why an emergency action plan is necessary. As mentioned earlier, there are possibilities of equipment malfunctions, but there can also be structural deficiencies. This includes maybe a wet floor, or a part of the building, like the ceiling is falling, something of that nature. With a building this old, it is very possible that something like that could happen, and someone get hurt from it, or the place need to be evacuated, or something of that nature. Also, as far as crowd management, so you want to go ahead, if there is an emergency, you want to train your staff to be able to manage a crowd, help them to understand that it's important to get people away from that area, or during peak times of the day, it's important to kind of make sure that the signage is correct and that the patrons know where to go if there's an emergency, or if not, just where they can get questions answered. Another part is that's a huge risk is infections and bacteria, especially in a facility such as a student recreation center. With so many people using the gym, using the facility, it's important to go ahead and have them have gym wipes somewhere stationed throughout the facility so that patrons can know that they need to wipe down their equipment after use, as well as having staff take this mat cleaner or some other type of cleaning solution and have them wipe down equipment at certain times of the day. So it's important to go ahead and have a structure of who cleans what when to help with the protocol of bacterial outbreak or infections. There's also patrons can sneak in without paying a fee. So as I talked about earlier, it's a very small thing that you think about. Oh, well, if one person sneaks in, it's fine, so it's not a big deal. If that happens every day, then that company, the SRC, is actually losing money. Campus recreation is funded through student fees and through external revenue. So by entering the facility is when that revenue is generated. There's also liability purposes of if that person doesn't actually pay fees, that means they didn't actually sign a waiver. So if they get hurt, that's just a lawsuit waiting to happen because they're not covered by this liability. This person could also possibly be an active shooter. I know that's kind of a stretch and a far-fetched idea, but you never know. This person could have snuck in and could be out harassing patrons, and without any sort of identification that he did come into the facility, swipe in, there's no way that he can really be punished or kept from the gym. As mentioned earlier, there's also natural disaster due to weather or climate, and then structural fires, which in those cases there should be evacuation notices posted throughout the building, and the staff should definitely be trained on where and how to address these situations when they happen. Of course, with any emergency action plan, you want to make sure that this plan is implemented and managed correctly. So, kind of the course of action is to identify the risk, which we did at the beginning, analyze the risk, and then develop techniques to control and finance those risks, which is what we just did in the past 2 slides as well. So, you can do those through staff trainings and service trainings, ensuring that your staff is appropriately managing the facility when professional staff is not there, and that that if someone has a question, that they're able to answer it, or if there is an emergency, that you can trust your staff members to run the facility and make sure that those are taken care of. As far as other things you can do is to make sure that there's signage in the facility, and that to go ahead and state beforehand some of the issues that might be coming up, and then having your staff complete incident or injury reports. This is the best way to document things, if there's some kind of report on hand, so that students or the staff can go ahead and let the professional staff know what's going on, know what's happening, and then that's just further documentation in case something major does arrive. It's important to have proper equipment on hand. So in the case of injuries, minor injury, major injury, having first aid kits available and having an AED available for cardiac emergencies. As far as managing the emergency action plan, it's just a continuation of looking at challenging opportunities and moving forward, and just making sure that this emergency action plan is being fulfilled, implemented, and then as things are addressed or current issues are coming up, to just make sure that the company and department is on track to handle those situations when brought to the attention. Thank you for listening.